Starts. Okay, well, hi everyone. So welcome to this fourth episode of SaaSCast, where we talk about SaaS problem, that is growth, admin, design, customer success, you name it. My name is Gilles. I'm the co-founder of Livestorm, and I'm just going to give you a quick tour to introduce everyone to the Livestorm product. So basically, you have these chat questions you already use. You have a polls section where we'll send you polls throughout the webinars, and we have the questions section, of course, where you can ask questions. So pretty straightforward so far. So today I'm with Maxime from Buffer, who is a product manager growth at Buffer. So welcome, Maxime. How's it going?
Hey, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm good.
Cool. So this episode actually is called How to Build a Customer-Driven Product, but it should be more how to grow a customer-driven product, really. We talked about this, and you told me that you mostly deal about marketing experiments rather than product itself. And by the way, maybe you could tell us a little bit more what you do exactly at Buffer and how do you define product marketing growth?
Product manager growth.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Basically, we talk about that. That's cool. I'm Maxime, and I'm working here on the. So I'm product manager growth at Berthelot. So I think it's really interesting because we have maybe a different vision of the growth than certain companies right now, some startups. So basically what we're doing is the growth team at Buffer is really owning like the flow of customers that comes in and comes out. Mm-hmm. And we also have an amazing marketing team at Buffer. So we're working closely with them, but we're really dedicated on like when customers start signing up at Buffer and then all the flows until they churn. And so that's really our vision of the growth team. And the mission of the growth team right now is to help customer better expand the values of Buffer during that flows. So that's the goal we have. And it's less like trying to find some hacky way to drive some acquisition to the websites. And that's
okay.
what we have.
All right. And so when we prepared the show, you told me that basically you guys were not doing growth hacking as we know it, as all the blogs talk about. And you do marketing at Buffer in a very special way. You do a lot of user research. And maybe you can tell me what you do exactly in terms of marketing. What's different? How you stands on the marketing market, and how do you consider growth hacking today?
Yes. Okay, cool. So I think to understand how we're doing that is like we need to understand the Buffer is really like customer oriented. So we're really trying to understand what's the customer doing with the apps, how they're using the apps. So we have a team dedicated of customer researchers. So they just jump on call with customers and trying to understand, to ask questions. And we really believe in like the qualitative data mixed with the quantitative data. So we have a data team as well, an amazing data team. They're just looking at the data, what people are doing with Buffer. So to understand that, we have like more than 3 million sign-up users. So we have a ton of data. That's really amazing. And we can really jump on call literally with customers. That's pretty exciting. And so we're trying to mix both like the qualitative and the quantitative data, and we're trying to understand. And when we're trying to see some patterns, when we are on a customer calls, we're trying to look at the data and trying to understand how people use the product and how we could change that. And then we're trying to just reflect on what could be the best solution to bring to users. And then we like experimenting with that solution and with the product designer trying to find some solution. And then we are trying to ship that. And basically, so that's, I would say, it's the regular flow at Buffer right now. So the product manager are doing that way. And the difference with the product manager growth is like, we're not shipping new features. We're just trying to change the actual features. We're trying to modify the flows and trying to just maybe drive more customers to better experience the values of Buffer. And so we are we're doing exactly the same thing. So we're diving into the data. We're trying to understand. We have some assumptions sometimes, like, okay, we are looking at the data and we're seeing that there's a huge drop-off, for example, like the first day, and we're trying to understand why and why people are just leaving the app without like sending an update or something like that. And we're jumping on customer calls and mixing with the data, and then we're trying to modify the apps, and then experimenting. We are launching an A/B test, and we have like such a good traffic. So sometimes we usually takes like between few days and few weeks to just validate or invalidate what we were thinking. So
wow, that's great. But so you mentioned you had a lot of volume. You can do a lot of user research thanks to that volume. Do you think that a company that's just starting now, that's like a small startup, that's just a little traction, a small traction, can actually do the same kind of thing, the same kind of user research?
That's a good one. I totally think they should do that, because that's so basically we on every like flow, we don't have such high traffic because obviously we have this funnel. So we have like usually you have a lot of more customers at the top of your funnel and you have less customers at the bottom. So sometimes when we're just trying to iterate on some features at the end of the funnel, sometimes we don't have the very high volume, but it's still very, very interesting and especially if you have low volume of data, it's more interesting like to dig into like calls with customers, try to understand what do they want to do with your apps, or maybe just trying to record some like your user experience. So we're using a tool called Ojar, which is really, a lot of people are using that. It's really...
I was going to ask you actually what kind of tool you're using to do that. So Ojar, that's cool. They're actually pretty cheap, which is pretty affordable for any
exactly. So that's why I think that could be really interesting for startups and small startups. And but basically the first thing you have to do is really talk with your customers and just like jump on calls, because it's like less expensive than Ojar, than these two. But Ojar sometimes is really mind blowing. So you just discover some things and you have this like product mindset. You saw your product, you know exactly how people should do, and then you discover that they actually don't do how you were thinking they were supposed to do. So
that's pretty cool. And what kind of do you have some kind of framework when you call when you call a customer? How do you proceed?
Perfect. So we trying to use the brand Balfour model. So in growth, so it's like, so the first thing. So you can search on Brian Balfour, is really famous in growth. And this framework is really interesting because so the first thing you have to do is like looking at your funnel. So and trying to understand every steps of your funnel, from like visitors to churn, for example, and just trying to see where you have the main drop-off. So let's say it's like your trial conversion rate, for example, and you're going to pick up that numbers and you say, okay, in the next 60 days, I just want to increase that conversion rate. And so I'm going to work every experiment I'm going to launch. I'm going to try to just increase that. And then you have this 4 steps framework. Is like the first thing you have to do is like looking at your data. So understand. So basically the trial conversion rate is like what we call the outcome. And every weeks, you're going to try to come up with some ideas around experiment you want to ship. And all these experiments should really focus on the income. It's like if your trial conversion rate is your outcome, every steps that leads to increase that trial conversion rate will be your income. Like, so it could be the trial start. It could be like how many people start a trial from a blog post, or how many people start a trial from a specific CTA in your apps, or if they have from the free plan or another paying plan or something like that. So you're going to try to, all this data, you're going to go a little bit deeper inside the data, and you're going to try to change all this data, and it's going to have an impact on your outcome, which is the trial conversion rate.
Okay.
So this is exactly what we're doing every week, and we just pick up some we're trying to understand the data. We are mixing that with the customer research data, and then we're brainstorming on some ideas. So when we have an idea of an experiment, we're writing down the ideas, the impact it could have on the apps, and we're just trying to look at the flow, and we are looking at the experiment with the designer and the engineers, and trying to understand the cost of developing that, changing that or shipping that experiment. And then we are trying to prioritize based on all those things. So we're trying to ship like the least cost with the most impact, of course. So that's exactly what you're trying to accomplish every week.
So it's really like, it looks like really like a product management classic for the future. It's exactly the same process before marketing.
Exactly. So it's like growth at Buffer is really like, we're thinking it's really like a process rather than just like hacky things you're trying to do everywhere and just trying to bring some track.
Okay, cool. So you have like a really good structure to structure actually your growth and stuff. And you mentioned you had designer and engineers, so you have like a pretty multidisciplinary team.
Yeah. So like a product researcher, like an engineer, a data analyst, and the product designer, and they might not be full time. Dedicated to the growth team. Sometimes they just working for other teams, because you have a cycle like that. So sometimes you have like a lot of experiments you want to ship, and sometimes you have less experiments. So it's an interesting learning we had so far from the past 6 months. I'm doing dedicated growth team at Buffer. Is like at the beginning we were really trying to like change a lot of things, and trying to change a lot of tiny things, like changing a CTA, changing a model and stuff like that. And then we really understood that at some point we need to have like an higher vision of the global flows, and trying to better understand the user experience, and making sure that the global flow is like bring a better value for customers. So we change a little bit the pace with the growth tribe, not trying to ship like 5 or 10 experiments a week, but instead like just trying to think, okay, what's the most important thing we want to change, and maybe working on a bigger experiment, and trying to have a bigger impact on the product. So
This is totally something that you don't see very often in teams. I mean, in Europe, I don't think there's a lot of growth team, for example. And I know there was one at Mention. You have one. I know there is one also at Segment. This is something very common. Do you use all those skills sometimes to, like you said, bigger experiments, such as, for example, side products, stuff that will actually bring, that will add maybe another channel of acquisition, maybe another steps of conversion, stuff like that, like bigger side product outside of Buffer to, increase, I don't know, either acquisition or conversion and stuff like that. I'm thinking about Pablo, for example. Was Pablo like a side product at the beginning, just to get another?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I haven't been at Buffer when we first built Pablo, I think. But from the inside of Buffer, I can say that we sometimes discovered some features and interesting behaviors that people would love to do, and I think that's how we came up with Pablo. And so I think at some point it didn't make sense to have Pablo inside Buffer first thing, so that's why they started to have Pablo outside of Buffer. And but usually we discovered that, and we're trying just to have that, maybe trying to work on that outside of Buffer. And first thing, maybe then we're thinking about like connecting the both and trying to move to like one product at some point. But I don't really. I think Pablo was really like a way to drive traffic, of course, and trying to. But we were trying to solve, I think, a problem for people who were on social media trying to edit some pictures and just trying to put some text and then publish that. So I think the first idea was really like helping people to solve a problem they have, and then we try to have like to see how much traffic we can have on that apps and how we can send that traffic to buffer, of course. And we're trying to make the connection between the both, but it's not necessarily like always trying to generate traffic on all of these things outside of buffer. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and which was only possible because you guys did like some customer research, user research, you called actually customers. So everything you do basically is based on data, whether it's product, whether it's marketing, everything is based around data.
Yes, exactly. Always. We're always trying to have both sides of things, like qualitative and quantitative data. And we're always trying to mix the both. And every decision we're taking is always, a mix of that both things. So.
The qualitative data is actually pretty interesting because, you know, it's not numbers, it's not something you can actually count on a spreadsheet. So how do you make sense of all of these answers? Do you treat them like programmatically with an algorithm, or do you do it by hand?
No, it's totally by hand. So I think, I think the foundation of the customer research team at Buffer is like really the lean customer development books, written by a girl that was previously at Yammers. She was PM at Yammers. And it's really the foundation of the customer research team. We are really using these frameworks to do the customer research. So we are trying to just have these 4 questions, and we're trying to guide the interview with these 4 questions and to answer these 4 questions, the main questions. But it's very like large, and we're just trying by the end, trying to discover some patterns through all the calls we're doing. And when we did like 10 to 20 calls and we're seeing these patterns coming, this is like an interesting vision. And then that's exactly where we're trying to, we're lagging a little bit, or?
Yeah, you were lagging just a little bit, just a drop connection, but it's okay, you can go on.
Okay, sorry. So then, when we saw these patterns coming again and again, we have this feeling that we found something, and then we're trying to validate that usually with data, and we're trying to go deeper inside that pattern. So it's like basically definitely by hand. We are not using any algorithm to do that. Yeah.
All right. Okay, but I guess it's important when you deal with this sort of things that having a human touch to actually understand what is the problem behind it or underneath the call is important. And
we really believe in humans. So in that.
That's a good thing. It's not something that you usually do, usually see in Silicon Valley these days. So pretty cool. And actually, someone had a good question. I think it's Elric Beckman saying, what's your trial conversion rate and how much one experiment can change that number? Actually, I had the same kind of questions. What is the kind of change you can expect from one experiment? Do you have like any example in mind?
Yes. So the most important experiment. So we have to. So first thing, we have to trial Buffer. We have different plans. The first plan is like called the Awesome plans. It's $10 a month, and all the plans are business plans more than 100. And so we have the trial Awesome and we have the trial business. So I'm going to speak about the trial business a little bit more. So we try to understand what users were doing with the business plan, what was the features they were really interested by. So the first thing was like we discovered that we're offering like more profile to connect. So they usually upgrade to business because of the number of profile. They usually connect because of the number of slots in the queues. They usually upgrade because of the team members features. So basically you can share your social media profile with your team members. And that's the main business features, and also the analytics. So when we look at the data, we found that people who were like adding team members had like 30% more chance to convert at the end of the trial than the people who never had any team members. The same thing for the profile, and the same thing for and a little bit more for the analytics, I think. So the top post. And so we try to several different experiments, and sometimes, so the first thing is like, you're going to ship a lot of experiments, they're going to fail. So you're not going to have an impact on your trial conversion rate. That's the first thing. You need to be prepared of that, because you're failing. And sometimes it's hard because you're trying to think about everything and you're constantly failing. But you need to fail forward. It means that you always need to come up with an experiment and trying to understand. If you fail, you're going to learn something. And if you succeed, you're going to learn something. So that's cool. And so if you're failing, that's cool, because you're going to iterate on that and try.
Yeah. Each time you learn something. Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. And on the trial, the most amazing experiment we did was like, the outcome was the trial conversion rate, and the income were like people who were adding team members, people who were like adding profiles and stuff. And we had this idea. We never had any tracker bar at Buffer, like trying to show the different parts of the product to new sign up trialists. And so we came up with that idea of a tracker bar and trying to bring people to the different tabs of the product, like the profile connection, the team members, and the analytics. And we came up with like a first version, and since we launched the first version, we had 3 different versions. I think the first one was really rough in terms of design, and then we increased that. And that was pretty amazing that when we launched the tracker bar drove like almost like 20% more behavior, so more like team members added and profile connected among all the people who had this tracker bar. And then looking at that, we knew that if we were able to increase that number of team members added, of the number of people who had team members, the number of people who had profiles, we gonna be able to change the trial conversion rate. So we were really focused on those metrics first, not looking specifically at the trial conversion first things with that experiment, but just trying to increase the behavior of people.
Okay, so it's really like psychological almost, right? You leave something that is unfinished, and the fact that is unfinished will drive actually people to complete their profile, add people, until you reach like your haha moment where people say, okay, now I've added my teammate, so I'm probably going to convert.
Exactly. You're gonna, it's exactly that. And then, and because sometimes as well, you need to think about like an A/B test. You're gonna see, you need to be very like it's very, if you drastically change the matrix, that's cool. And if you not, just move forward and just move to another experiment. And just the idea is for that experiment is, not trying to, because you looking at the trial conversion rates can take a lot of time, because you have a 14 days trial conversion length. So it means that if you need to wait like at least 14 days and then maybe a little 14 days more, because sometimes people just convert after the end of the trial, you're going to at least wait for 1 month. But looking at the behavior is more important, more interesting, because you can know that in the first few days. You can just see if people add more team members, add more profiles. So you're gonna learn faster, and then you're gonna iterate faster on that.
Yeah,
so
that's interesting.
This is, I think, how you can change the number.
Okay, that's exactly what I've done at Aviato.
Okay.
All right, cool. So also, you mentioned you had many plans, and this is something, it's not really growth related, but I had this question. For example, when you have like this B2B SaaS, usually you sell plans starting at $49.99. You don't have this big free plan with a huge value. You don't have a small plan that's $10 or something. But you guys, you don't do this like everyone else. You have this free plan, which is amazing, which basically is a good fit for a lot of people, and you have this premium plan that we use at Livestorm that is really affordable. And I don't know, but maybe do you have an opinion on this? Do you know what's the what was the strategy behind it? What is just to bring more people in? What?
Yeah, I think it's so the first thing is we add these free plans because we really okay with, so we have all these people using the product with free plans, and we are really okay with that. We're thinking that at some point we can have like people using the free plan forever, and we are cool with that. That's definitely the things we want to to have, because people really enjoy using the product, and we happy with that behavior. And also because we are not necessarily like trying to understand and to push every user to upgrade to a premium plan, because we really think that at some point, like the guys who are running is like a little coffee shop in San Francisco and don't really need like the awesome plan, doesn't have to necessarily upgrade to that awesome plan. And we are cool with that. And also because we are thinking that if he's happy with the product, he might talk about the product to his friends, and maybe at some point one of his friends will have like a big agency and he's going to subscribe to Buffer, and at some point maybe paying for the product. So
so basically what you're saying is that the money you don't get from those plans is basically an investment in terms of reach and publicity for you.
Yeah, it's like a community. So we're really trying to build this community, and it's also like a big like reservoir of like leads at some point, because usually you see people like signing up in the individual plan, which is the free plan, and just using the product for a few days and then upgrading to the awesome plan, and then after a couple of weeks, months, sometimes upgrading to the business plan. So that's really like a path, and we want to have this path in mind. So I think having the free plan is really awesome for Buffer right now. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's very uncommon. It's just something that I never really got with Buffer. I was like, how those guys actually make so much money, so big, just selling. And it was, just a free plan that is perfect for me. Then I started using with Livestorm, and I was like, okay, now I get the idea. I know why people actually convert, but it's really, really uncommon to see that. And so. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
No, sorry. And it's just because you use it for yourself for free, and then when you had your business, you automatically thought about like Buffer. Okay, I'm gonna use Buffer for my business. So that's exactly the kind of mindset we're trying to have with the free plan. So.
Okay, cool. Is this something that you would recommend for not any business, of course, but for some business, if they have a low cost infrastructure, maybe, or maybe, I don't know how do you think about it, but do you recommend for business, mostly in B2B, to reuse that strategy for their own product? What will be the parameters to take into account?
So I think it really depends on the type of business and the type of your customers you're trying to target. I think it works really perfectly for Buffer because we are in the social media ecosystem. So I think there's some key takeaway. People can have this same mindset for their SaaS products. But as you know, sometimes some of the product you just have to sign up and to have someone in your calls to start using a SaaS product. And sometimes you can just start with a free trial, but after 14 days, you just have to convert to a paying plan. It's really, I think it's hard to say which type of business could do that and which couldn't, but I think it's really a matter of what's the type of customers you're targeting. And in our case, I really think that we have all these people that it's like B2B, but also a lot of people using the product for themselves first thing, and then trying to upgrade and to use it for their business right after. So that's why it's like interesting. Like with Oja, for example, you're not gonna use that personally in your personal life to just record. So exactly. So it might not make sense for them to have
Okay, so cool. So the idea is to get that. Okay, let's say you have this users that are basically either freelancers or individuals. They use for their own, their own social media profiles, or maybe just for their own self company. And so those guys will start with an individual plan. And the day they start a company, or they join another company, maybe they'll just promote Buffer inside and convert to a paying plan. Okay, that's so maybe the first parameter to take into account is is maybe a part of your audience, of your target is individuals that will potentially later become businesses.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's the first thing I would look at, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Yeah, doesn't make sense to have a free plan. Yeah, so that's exactly the mindset. Yeah.
All right. So, and I have one final question for you. So, what kind of advice you could give to a recently founded company to get its growth on the right tracks for the future? And if you had to build a strategy from the ground up, where would you start first? I know that's a big question. That's why I'm kept it for the last.
Yeah, that's a kind of big question. So I would say the first thing I would do is like trying to understand the target, the customers, who are the people you're trying to target, what's the personas, what's the best personas of best customers with your apps, what are they doing with that, and what's the main trying to jump on calls and trying to understand why people hire your product for, and what are they going to do with that. So, and then I would love to maybe try to look at the data and try to understand first thing was the biggest drop off. So maybe if you start a business, it might be like the sign up conversion rate, for example. So it might be like trying to drive a lot of traffic to your website first, and then trying to convert them. So it's a big thing. But yeah, that's the thing I would love to. I would try to do first thing, because then you can really change your landing pages. You can really change your message, and then you can really change your product, and trying to change your onboarding, and trying to understand what's target all the people that, I don't know, whatever they want to do with your product, and change the onboarding in that way. So that would be the first thing I would do, and then trying to build on top of that mindset and that knowledge, and then trying to iterate, and maybe and not trying to like I think the most important thing with growth is like having a focus, trying to really focus on something, and trying to be better with that metrics or whatever feels great to you, but trying to focus and not trying to change everything in your apps, like trying to, at the same time, not trying to change the landing pages, not trying to change the onboarding, and so
keep it focused. So what would be a good number of experiments, let's say per week or per month, just to keep that focus first?
Yeah, that's a good thing. So I think the actual mindset is the actual like knowledge of growth is like, I think one of the recommendations from Brian Balfour, Ethan Shah, the guys that are amazing with growth right now, is like, they just say you need to ship a lot of experiment by week to have this mindset of growth, and trying to to organize the team and stuff. So that's what we did in the past. But I think you don't need necessarily to be driven by a certain number of experiment by week. So what we did first thing for the first 2 months, we are trying to ship like 5 experiments a week. And I think that could be a good number. It really depends on the traffic you have, the number of people that's working on growth at your company. And but trying to have just a number first thing could help you trying to get the mindset of growth, and trying to have all the framework, the process, and the things. And then I think you need to be rather focused on the goal you set up, like trying to change the trial conversion rate, for example, instead of trying to ship 5 or 10 experiments a week. But the first thing is, I think it's a good idea to have like a number first thing, like let's say 5 experiments, and then trying to move to that numbers, and not trying to have this number too much in mind, because sometimes it can affect the global onboarding and stuff. So.
Yeah, makes total sense. Okay, so maybe you can switch to Q&As now. Okay, so Harry Blackman is trolling around. Okay, is there a free equivalent of Hotjar? Okay, so Robin already answered that. So how much has your trial conversion changed since you put the user immediately on trial?
So I think, yeah. So where is the question?
Basically, is when people sign up to Buffer, I think they have already access to the awesome plan in the trial, right?
Yeah. So we did an experiment around that. It's not yet deployed.
Okay.
So put the user immediately on a trial. You're thinking about doing it. Okay, cool. So I think so it has an amazing impact. So the thing you need to understand is like for putting new sign-up user to the trial, we were looking not necessarily at the trial conversion rate, because if you look at the trial conversion rate, so before we had less people starting a trial, and so the conversion was maybe higher because you're gonna like have a huge number. So we had a huge number of new trialists, like thousands of new trialists per week, and so at the end you had less people converting, of course. So trial conversion rate was lower, but the key metric for that was really the MRR, looking at the MRR and the behavior of user, trying to see if people has less engagement through the trial, or people adding less profile, or so. Obviously, we found that people had exactly the same behavior, and we had more MR thanks to that. And it was like really like mind blowing. We had 15. I think it was an experiment we ran for 15 days, and we're still looking at the data 3 months after. So we did that in August, and we're still looking at the data because we wanted to also look at the churn as well, and the engagement 3 months after, and it's really mind-blowing. So the trial conversion rate didn't really increase, but the MR really increased like by like.
Did you see an increase in your customer lifetime value as well?
Yeah, definitely. So that's pretty mind-blowing. So I think one of the key learning from that experiment was the awesome plan might not have been really good advertised during the oops, am I back? Hello?
Yep. Sorry for the lag. Another drop in connection.
Sorry. So I think that was really like interesting learning so far. I did. I lost my word, so sorry. But yeah, I think we really changed the most interesting thing is like we really changed the engagement during the trial, and we really changed the number of upgrades, the number of people who were paying for the product, for the awesome plan at the end, and we had more people. Like also we found an interesting path is like people upgrade like to the awesome plan, and we had more people upgrading to the business plan at the end 3 months after. So it's really like we were like a little bit scared about maybe like having more people on the awesome plan and less on the business plan, but finally we found that more people were upgrading, so they have a quicker understanding of the buffer value. So that's
exactly. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah, they have that value of the awesome plan directly. That is, you bypass one step and it goes right to the business plan. Yeah. That makes total sense. Okay, cool. If no one else has questions, maybe you can call it a day. And well, thank you, Maxime, for coming.
That was really cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, a lot of insights, a lot of good insights here. So so thank you everyone for coming. And so next SaaSCast will be probably at the end of October with Matt Kudu, and we'll talk about sales, and we'll talk about some API stuff. So really tech products, so really cool. So thank you, Maxime, again, and see you guys. Cheers.